Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about a clear-cut case of financial abuse that I can see in this story that I found online. And it's very important to talk about financial abuse because there are many people, and legal abuse also, that many people go through globally, where sometimes because they are poverty stricken, because they come from poor socioeconomic status, because maybe they didn't even have the time and energy to pursue certain legal things. Many times people let go of their pursuit of their legal rights. I've myself done this in US, even though I was a highly educated person who knew even legal jargons in US law, because I had business law and pharmacy law related studying through during my entire stay in US. So despite that, despite understanding the legal jargon, I also felt sometimes if things are too stacked up against someone, people like me do not end up pursuing our legal rights for multiple reasons. So in this girl's tale also, I don't know whether she ended up pursuing this her legal right, because everything she told, in even in anger to her husband's wife, was absolutely actually possibly right, given the terms of the will he might have left for after his before his death. So this guy, he died in his early 30s. He was 32 years old according to this story. The girl who has come to talk to the wife of the person who has died is a 16-year-old girl. Because she is his 16-year-old child, it means she was conceived when he was a teen. And when he was a teen, presumably his girlfriend at that time was also a teenager, a couple of years older or younger than him. So that girl, his first daughter's mother, is also presumably somewhere in her 30s age range. So a person who has had a teen pregnancy since they're 15-16 years of age, that girl also would have had a harder life, because why did this guy refuse to take care of his teenage girlfriend's pregnancy? Because being a teen, he naturally doesn't have the finances or financial stability or any finances at all to take care of her. So his family could have convinced him to leave the girlfriend, or he himself got convinced that whatever financial responsibility he would have to take, he didn't have the financial acumen or finances to do that for his girlfriend. So whatever the reason was that he couldn't take care of this girlfriend, and the child that was born was something we don't know about his past. But because he was indeed a conscientious and responsible adult, eventually in his future, maybe when he turned 20, in his early 20s, maybe he graduated and he got a job. And after that, possibly after 7-8 years of never taking care of his girlfriend and his biological child, maybe after 8-10 years or 7-8 years, he started taking care of them financially. And that was a good thing that happened in the teenage mom's life, because being a teenage mom is not an easy journey. So if you are a teenage mom, you end up taking care of the child. You have to have a lot of financial responsibilities of the child, and you would have to struggle a lot in your life financially, because things would be stacked up socially and socioeconomically against you. And then being not just a teenage mom, she's also likely was a single mom all her life. So otherwise she wouldn't be struggling this way financially. So maybe she didn't have good parents, or her parents kicked her out of the house for being pregnant, or even if her parents didn't kick her out, she just came from a poverty stricken family. That's why she already was stacked socioeconomically at a lower socioeconomical lifestyle. So whatever the reason, being a single mom is not easy, being a teen mom is not easy. If you're coming from a poverty stricken family, again it's not easy. So this child could have been raised in under triple threat conditions, where many things were stacked up against her. And obviously she never even got her father's love, because her father, even though he sent money maybe after he turned 22, so maybe from 22 to 32 years of age, he gave money to the daughter, but he never showed any biological parenting related connection to that child. So obviously the child has the angst also of, even though she has a biological father, she doesn't have a very good emotional connection with her father. So all these combined naturally would make her have this angst and bitterness that came out of her when she yelled at her father's biological wife. And think of it from the perspective of this girl. This father, if he really wanted to be responsible towards his child, he did a partial responsibility towards the child. But say he had started paying money from 22 or 25 years of age, and at that 25, because in the story it says that this man has been married and has a 6-year-old child and a 3-year-old child, it means that he might have also got married somewhere in his mid 20s. So say from 22 years he might have given money to his girlfriend, but he never married that girlfriend, because of which he couldn't provide a stable life to that girlfriend and the girlfriend's child. So he caused some emotional neglect in their life, as well as social, he was responsible for their social neglect too, which he didn't wake up to before his death, which was unfortunate. But as his wife has an opportunity to wake up to this. Like for her, yes, it is a complete blindsiding that for 7-8 years of her marriage, potentially 7-8 years, she might have been married to him, and in those 7-8 years of her marriage she didn't know about this background history of her husband. But even if she didn't know about this background history of her husband, now is the time for her to wake up and become responsible too. So this woman is also likely being normally in normal society, she is likely going to be a woman who is in her 20s. So while she's in her 20s and the husband is in his 30s, or maximum she would also be a 30-year-old, whatever is her age range, she also has the chance now to wake up. Now she could at the very least be simply a immature person who doesn't want to think about the blindsiding that she has suddenly got after the husband's death, to find out that he had a child prior to her. And that part is an emotional trauma for this wife. But even though it's an emotional trauma for this wife, and even though she might have she can immaturely assume that the will is, when the will is mentioning a wife and children, that it means only her and her children, or if the will was mentioning my partner and children, it could also potentially mean his girlfriend also along with him. There could be many ways in which the will has been written, which could include actually the girlfriend and the child also in the will's terms. And now a good lawyer, that's why, needs to come into picture to help this girl out, because even though the girl yelled out to the you can call her the stepmom, she yelled out at the wife of her father that, you're a greedy person and you're not seeing that I'm also my father's child. Why did she say that? She said that because if the will's term says that the property has to be left to his children, she is also his child. So even though the wife didn't know that the husband had another child, now that the wife has that information, it is up to the wife's karma and legal responsibility to ensure that the child gets the rights. And even if the wife doesn't do it, if the lawyer knows about it, I feel that this is a ethical gray zone where even the lawyer of the wife should, if they are ethical lawyers, they should ethically practice their law. If the lawyer also doesn't do it, the judge who is reading the test, the contents of the will, then needs to do the right thing. Someone has to do the right thing in order to bring justice to this girl, because you understand, she's not a person will not say so many things out in pain if she was having a glorious life and she was leading a life for in which this extra money from the father would have been just a luxury for her. She's not that kind of a child. She is a poverty stricken child. She's been raised by a single mom, so naturally her upbringing has been 16 years of misery. Whereas after the husband's death, if the wife, now being grief stricken and widowed, is undergoing her own pain, and it is understandable that she's undergoing her own pain and that's why unable to see someone else's pain, but eventually she has to wake up. Even if she doesn't wake up that day when this teen daughter came, she should wake up. She can't just simply stay, and karmically she has to wake up someday in her life to leave some elements of the property rights that she didn't give to this girl at that age. She should technically be able to give that at least a few years down the line, before if she has a conscientiousness, or if she stops becoming looking through it from her perspective only. And this is where I think legal systems and justice systems globally should also start looking at wills or legal property rights from the humane aspect and humane angle, rather than simply what is written. Because if someone only interprets the law at a very clinical terms, wife and children, and at that time if you knew only there is one wife and two child, fine. But if 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line new information has come up where you know that there is not just one wife and one child, because this is not, this video that I'm making is not simply about this girl. There could be other women who could have been the first wife of someone. And if there is a story like that where there is a first wife and some children, then the wife and children could also mean the first wife and the children from the first wife as well. Again, how you interpret it will depend upon what the personality type was the person a responsible kind, was the person a humane kind when he wrote the will. If he wrote the will when, say, he has been giving alimony to this, or child support, I keep saying alimony, but some men might be giving alimony also to their first wife and their children. So say they were giving alimony to the first wife and their children, and that alimony was going on for 10 years, and he got married 3-4 years after that first wife's alimony and other legal things had been sorted. So in those couple of years later, when he married the second wife, or the another hypothetical scenario, say there are two wives and he got divorced from the first wife and he's paying child support there, obviously. And if he made the will after he has started paying the child support, that means when he's saying children, he means his child from the first marriage or his first biological child as well, right? Or if he knew about his biological child and he made the will as soon as his biological child information was known to him, then the child he actually mentions could only be just the biological child. And if he had at that point of time not even been married to the other wife, then actually the property rights that he's writing in his will could actually be completely going to the wife or the girlfriend and the child, rather than the wife who thinks the property is going to her. So that's why a good judge has to come into picture, a good lawyer has to come into the picture. And if this girl wants to fight her case and someone wants to help her fight her case, a good conscientious lawyer also has to come into her life for helping her out. So if there are new law students, if there are students who want to, or people who have been practicing law for many years and who have seen these kind of cases continuously where injustice is being served, or people are misinterpreting the law and not looking at the right angles to the law, those kind of people who understand the truth, who realize what is the truth, those who want to do some real justice and bring some real justice to people's lives, those who really want to balance the karmic scales also of justice, all these kind of people need to come together to make some changes in global laws, in local laws, in the places where they have the influence to change the laws in the right way, so that girls like her do not continuously live in poverty when she has done nothing to deserve that kind of a life. Yes, maybe in a past life's karma she might have had a karmic contract in this life to suffer for 15-16 years of her life. But even if she was meant to suffer for 15-16 years of her life, if the things have been brought to light, or if enough people know that this child also has the rights to this property based on how the legal documents were written, or when or why the legal documents were created, if there are enough people who know this, or few people who understand why these documents were created the way they were, they need to bring justice to that girl. Even if the girl doesn't understand, if she understands it emotionally here, that she is being his biological child, she has the right as well, but she hasn't had access to the will. So she needs to first get access to the will, so someone has to give her the will, someone has to give her access to the will, someone some lawyer has to interpret the will the right way for her as well, because there is imbalance in justice if the wife gets to have a lawyer to look at the will, but the first wife in some other people's cases, or if the first wife's children don't get access to the law. So there are also imbalances there if you don't even get access to the legal documents. And then if people sometimes what happens is, in cases of girls like this, I have actually literally in my childhood days one time thought of a girl child whom I knew when I was a very small young child. Like when I was like maybe 4-5 years of age, I'd met another girl who was like a baby. And suddenly, when I was 10 years of age, I suddenly remembered that girl. So I asked my dad, where is that girl? And when I went to see that girl, her life was very different and very poverty stricken compared to what I would have expected of her life, because when as children we had hung around, her socioeconomic status seemed like the same socioeconomic status as mine. So I couldn't understand why this girl's mother was living in such conditions. And also when I went and met the girl, she looked very different from the girl I remembered from childhood. So I don't even know whether my dad actually took me to the right girl also. And I questioned it, but because I'm not too much of a questioner of other humans, until I really have some concrete evidence, I didn't question it too much whether I actually met the same girl I was thinking of from childhood days, or whether they showed me a different girl. All these things came into my consciousness only after I started questioning. Until then I didn't question my dad, so wherever my dad took I went. But after I became older, like in a 20 or 30 years of age, when I reflected back, that's when I realized, oh, my dad could have taken me to some other place and said this is the girl that I had met as a child, when it wasn't that same girl. And though I subconsciously understood it as a 10-12-year-old child, the conscious understanding came to me only when I became a mature adult and I understood the capacity humans have to lie to others or create illusion for others, things like that. So this woman who is now refusing to share the property rights with the biological child of her husband's, she could be a immature woman. If she is a immature woman, she has to become more mature. Or if she is a grief stricken wife, she has to again become mature. But again, her grief was, how long is she supposed to be in her grief? If she was say her husband died when he was 32, and for 2 years the mother of his biological first child struggled for 2 years, because when they have come to this wife, they are in real dire straits. They are going to be evicted. The fact that they are going to be evicted means for a couple of years they would have not wanted to interfere in her rosy life also, and so they never would have wanted also to come and say anything regarding the husband's history if they had managed to do fine. But because the socioeconomic circumstances are now forcing them to come to seek help from her, it is very necessary that this wife wakes up to that help that she's meant to provide. And within and they would naturally have only come after a couple of years of the husband's passing. They wouldn't have come immediately within 1 month, if because the other person is also earning. Being a single mom, it is not possible that she's not earning at all for her child and she's completely just dependent on the alimony or child support money from someone else. No woman, if she has been a single mom for a while, she has some job. It might be a low paying job, it may not be a high paying job, but she has some job. Now that job is just not enough for her to sustain a life of a child and her, because being a single mom and from a poverty stricken family, her socioeconomic circumstances like that. So she definitely needed the extra money from the child support she was getting, which now that it has been blocked for a while, even though they might have struggled to manage their finances for a couple of years, it was not enough for them. So at that time, if this wife doesn't share the property rights and if she is not immature, then she's definitely, and the way the if you look at the video, and then there is a comment section which gives the rest of the story, in the pinned comment section which gives the rest of the story. If you read the rest of the story, the way this rest of the story is written, it shows that this person is not simply immature, they are likely selfish, narcissistic, or greedy. So when they got access to a higher amount of money from the husband's death, they didn't want to share the money as well. So this girl, when she's crying out in anger and saying you greedy woman, is absolutely right, because humans, when you're poverty stricken and when you're struggling with finances, those humans are actually even more capable of understanding which humans fleets other people for greed and which humans are simply immature. Because if you're struggling continuously financially, and for 16 years this mother and daughter have been struggling, so those 16 years of life experiences also gives you the life experience to understand who exploits people for greed, who exploits people, who is greedy, who is selfish, who is narcissistic. So the daughter, even though in anger she is saying something, some bitter words, likely she is speaking the truth. And because she is poor now, whether she'll have right legal access is the problem zone for her. But if some lawyer can find these cases when they are working in the legal system, and they are inclined now and awakened that better justice has to come into place, it's time for those lawyers to find these victims and maybe get in touch with them to help them with their court case. Or if the judge understands that some injustice is going on, maybe the justice system has to bring into picture real justice into, and real humane justice into the picture, rather than simply looking at who is fighting the case and who is a better quality lawyer or something. I hope this makes sense, and people who are awakening to doing better in life, wanting to do better in life, wanting to really bring to true justice in life, I hope they would wake up to what changes they can make in their personal lives to influence the flow of justice in the right way. And for this daughter or people like her who are puzzled why they are not getting their father's rights, or who know that they should be getting some right, intuitively they might be knowing it, but they do not have legal access to the paperwork, it's time they go and get the legal paperwork from the concerned authorities. Or if they are having a trouble getting the legal paperwork, I hope a better way could be created for such people to go and get access to legal court system rights. I know in US, especially in California system, there are some ways in which using the name of a person you can find your court papers, but even that is not a perfect system, because I know my ex-husband has legally done all sorts of manipulations of the legal system by writing his name in different ways to legally manipulate the system. So sometimes you may have to seek the right answer by putting different names of the person who has the legal rights. Like there are also, I know technically and intuitively, there are people who have court cases that have been filed against them, but they have never received the court papers. So they can't go and appear for the court paper when they never received the court paper. Or someone in their family took the court papers but didn't pass it to them because that person who is in their family is a narcissistic abuser, or is entangled with the persons who will get the major rights, might have taken some greedy money and decided not to even give the court papers to the relevant person. So there are many reasons where people have legal rights, their court cases were also fought, and they might have even got some legally also, they might have been assigned some money which never came to them because other people did manipulations to of financial or legal abuse for the legal abuse to continue in this person's life. So these are so many places where the justice system needs to wake up, legal systems need to wake up, social systems need to wake up and create a more balanced society. Because the more this mother and women go into more deeper pain related to financial insecurity, socioeconomic circumstances related exploitations, what are you continuing in the world? You're continuing a system of abuse where this family now, if they are now put on the streets, they are going to be homeless, and their homelessness could have been stopped in the right way if the right money was given to them at the right time of their life. Or if they were rendered homeless if people had intervened at the right time, all they had to do was give a quarter of the money. The quarter of the money, if this is a, I think the video says it was $1 million property or something, like whatever it was a great property which maybe the husband got it from his family rights. So whatever the place from which he got this excess property, extra property that maybe he didn't have the rights to until after he passed away, and the rights were given to the wife because she has now become a widow. But again, if even the family didn't know about this other wife, or even if the family knew and thought that the other girlfriend and child would be getting equal rights but they didn't get it, then it's time for the family also to intervene and give the rights to that other child, because you are continuing a system of abuse that could have been very easily stopped with the right interventions at the right time, and the exploitation of this mother and child wouldn't have happened, or any other kind of socioeconomic exploitation or financial barriers that, or legal barriers and legal challenges that come into people's life. They wouldn't have those subsequent problems in their life if they had just received the right amount of money at the right time. And this girl and her mother, they are trying to do the right thing. Otherwise, if they were doing unethical things, if they were doing really bad socioeconomically harmful things in life, they wouldn't have been put into these kind of socioeconomic circumstances either. So that's why I hope people will try to bring the right justice to the right people. And if there's someone who has an English or Hindi document, legal document, I'm glad to help you interpret your document if you are not able to interpret your document the right way, because I have studied a little bit of law. It's not that my law is related to family law, but I have studied law jargon, so I understand the jargon in Hindi and English a little better than any other languages that I know. But in these two languages, I feel if someone is just clueless about what is their legal right and is looking for just pro bono help, I'm ready to help you in interpreting your documents. Drop a comment and connect with me, and maybe I can help you out, at least looking at your documents, and then you could possibly then go to a right lawyer to pursue your case. And other people who are already in the law systems who can help out people like this, I hope if you are awakening to doing some social good, whatever stage of law you are at, you can do the social good at any stage of law you're at. You can be a paralegal, you can be a legal student, you can be a lawyer practicing for 10-20 years. In each stage of influence and sphere of influence of your life, you have the capacity to bring the right justice to some people who really need the justice but don't know where to go and get that justice. So I hope this video makes sense, and I don't know why I'm crying, but I feel the pain of these people who have had a life where they couldn't pursue the legal rights when they because of whatever socioeconomic or legal challenges they had in their life. So the only way they can actually get justice is if some people choose to do the right things to help right the wrong that has been going on in their life. So if you can help people out in whatever way your sphere of influence allows you to help, it helps in creating a better society, more balanced society. Thank you, and have a great day.